Hey everybody, it's Josh with Talk About Trek, and we are back again today because we have finished another Star Trek book. This time being Star Trek Klingon, the novelization of the hit CD-ROM. And I gotta tell you, the best novelization of a CD-ROM that I think I've probably ever read. Um, I did not play the CD-ROM. I did. I've seen plays of it. I've watched long plays of it. And this was a very interesting way to bring that CD-ROM into a novel form, and a really well done way at that too. So anyway, let's get started. Uh, the novelization of the hit CD-ROM Star Trek Klingon, a novel by Dean Wesley Smith and Christine Catherine Roosh, based on the script by Hilary Bader, story by Dean Wesley Smith and Christine Catherine Roosh. That's a lot of credit there on the cover, right? Comes in at 195 pages, published in 1996. And from the back here, the Klingon Empire remains the Federation's most fearsome and uneasy ally. But can any human fully understand the heart and the soul of a true Klingon warrior? During crucial negotiations on Deep Space Nine, Gowron, leader of the Klingon High Council, tests human understanding of the Klingon way by sharing the powerful story of one warrior's quest for honor. Pak is a young Klingon caught up in the dangerous complexities of clan politics. When his father is murdered in his own home on the day of Pak's rite of ascension, Pak must find the assassin and close the circle of vengeance. But as he searches for the truth amidst strange aliens and treacherous friends, Pak discovers that every day can be a good day to die, and that only his own warrior's training stands between him and the business end of a Dictang knife. Bonus, a fascinating look into the making of Star Trek Klingon, the hit CD-ROM. So they did add quite a bit of extra stuff into this book here at the end. You get the, like they said, the little Klingon bonus there. And then you also have a good bit here in the end of a preview of Invasion. So, again, and this, at 195 pages of the short story, so it's a fairly easy read. And if you're a Klingon fan like I am, I'm always big into the Klingon lore, the Klingon culture. I love the Klingon episodes of TNG and Deep Space Nine. I mean, they really just kind of filled out what in TOS was just kind of a base thing, and they really took the culture and just made it into something that people really get into too. I mean, it's a language. There's people that do Klingon operas out there. It's a whole thing, right? There's a Klingon chapter close to my own home here that goes to Comic Cons and dresses up and stuff. So if you are a fan of the Klingon culture, this book kind of gives you a little bit more of that, and then there's a lot of great books that do delve into that. Kalas being an especially good one. But this one does so in a very interesting way, where basically you are looking at. So they had to take the idea of a game, right, and figure out a way to tell a story and still kind of make it feel like that, that narrative that you're in where you're part of it, right? And they did a fantastic job at doing that by kind of breaking it down to a couple different parts. You have this series of meetings that's going on Deep Space Nine, where they're trying to get the Klingons to kind of ally with them. So you have Captain Picard, Admiral Jellicoe, and Commander Sisko, and Gowron, and some of his men there as well. So they're having these meetings, which aren't going too well. But then after the meetings, they're getting together to talk. And during this talk and this drinking, Gowron is telling this story, and he's telling the story of young Pak here, which is the story of the CD-ROM. And the way the CD-ROM starts is basically that you are in a holodeck program designed to teach you more about Klingon ways, right? So they do an excellent job of putting in a proxy for the player by having Lieutenant Barclay be that person that Gowron asks to make these choices. And I just thought that was a fun way to, turn the game into a novel, right? And it does it in a way where it brings in a fun character, and it gives these kind of little funny moments where Barclay is actually kind of impressing Gowron at some points with his answers too. So very well done there. And again, the story just kind of follows the initial story of getting the Klingons to kind of come together with them, and then during that, of course, there is this kind of little mystery of someone trying to assassinate Gowron, right? And that kind of they expand upon that throughout the book. So there's also a fun little storyline of Dax and Riker, and then constantly trying to go out to dinner, and then seemingly getting interrupted, and that kind of brings a little bit of fun to it as well too. So again, all in all, just a very fun ride. Again, if you are a Klingon fan, if you are a Gowron fan, right? I mean, Gowron was a very fun character. All in all, Robert O'Reilly brought a lot, to Gowron, right? And his eyes, the Gowron eyes, right? So just a great kind of expanding upon his character, and then the Klingon culture, and then throwing in a lot of fun with that as well too. So itchy eye. Okay. Now, let's kind of get into the story a little bit here too, because there were some pretty fun points in here, some pretty interesting things. And like I said, I did watch the long play of the CD-ROM, and the book, it's fun because it does follow along with that story, just kind of like perfectly well, right? But then it takes and then it adds, all the outside framing devices and everything else to it that flesh it out into a full novel, right? So again, like I said, they're meeting for these kind of just general meetings to kind of get the Klingon Empire and the Federation closer together, and they're not having much luck. But the Gowron just continually wants to tell this story, and through this storytelling is basically him teaching them about Klingon ways, right? So, at first, even Admiral Jellicoe kind of gets on board, even though at first he's, not really like into it as much as the rest of them are. But it's just interesting to see how he takes the story, and it is like a true story of something that happened in his life, but it is also a lesson, basically for them. So, but it's a perfect Klingon tale, right? Because it starts out at this young Pock's rite of ascension, right? Gowron comes in, he's got presents for him. It's a wonderful occasion, right? But then, as he opens up his presents, a Romulan assassin probe flies out and tries to attack Gowron. Pock's dad throws himself in the way and gives his life for Gowron's, right? And then his brother, who's Pock's uncle, accuses like the neighbor of being the one who did this, stabs this dude in the gut, typical Klingon stuff, and is like, well, that closes the circle of vengeance. And Gowron's like, no, the circle of vengeance is not closed. And so begins this kind of quest where they have to track down all of the, just like the various little characters that are going to play a part in this, right? So they have to go to this bar first, where they meet this bartender, and I love the bartender in the CD-ROM is played by this character who I've seen multiple times on multiple TV programs, so it was nice to see him again. But anyway, they go there, and it is just just a very fun look inside of like the Klingon mind, right? Because he's continually like kind of stopping the story, and he's like, Barclay, what would you do in this situation? And then Barclay is stuttering, he's kind of like, but he gives some good answers, and Gowron's kind of impressed by him. But the whole story is basically this kind of goose chase where they're sent after these first off, they threaten the bartender to get some information, and then they're sent after these pack leads. When they get to the pack leads, and the pack leads basically give up the bartender as the guy. So they go back to the bar. The bartender has fled, so now they're chasing the bartender down. And when they finally find him, they have this singer with them as well. She turns on them. And in this typical Klingon fashion, this was very good too. It's basically like she's got the code for the bomb that they planted on Gowron's ship, right? And it's like, let us go, Gowron, and we'll give you the code. And Gowron's like, we ain't doing that. You're a Klingon, and your lives are not up for negotiation. And he's like, armed disruptors, fire. And he blows him up. And then he's like, all right, Pak, now you figure out this code. And of course, that's part of the game too. You had to figure out what the code would be probably. So he figures out the code, and they're able to continue on. And the kind of the final piece of the puzzle there is who really started this, And then the lady before she died gave up that it was someone from the original planet they came from an ancient Klingon house. So they get back there to close the circle of vengeance. And they find basically that it was the uncle, right? The uncle that was the one who did everything in the first place, because he wanted to have control of the family, didn't like how Gowron was running things. So, and then I think that he gets killed at the end. But then the story comes to a final end too, where... And this was really well done too, because that's like the end of the CD-ROM, right? But the story is, them on Deep Space Nine telling this story. So at the end of it, and again, throughout this whole thing, there's been like various attempts on Gowron and trying to get him. They've been a bombing attempt and other things. But we learn in the end that the kind of perpetrators behind all of this are Lursa and B'Etor, right? And they have an agent on board the station, and his name is... I kept calling him Dracula because it was very close to it. It was like Dracula. And Dracula is the son of Pak. And Pak was the uncle, right? No, Pak is Vak. All right, there's way too many Klingons, all right? But anyway, this is the son of the killed uncle, right? The son of the disgraced guy. So he's back, and he's trying to kill Gowron to get his honor, And it ends with they kind of have him cornered. His plan has failed. Lursa and B'Etor, their plan has failed as well. Gul Dukat even plays kind of a part in this. And again, it's a lot of fun, right? But the end is a fun little surprise because they reveal at the end a little twist, right? So they have this guy cornered on the station, and Gowron's like, he's a Klingon. Let Klingons deal with it. They go up to him, they call him out, and they're like, come out and, face us man to man. And then he sends his bodyguard to face the guy. And his bodyguard gets into a fight with him and ends up killing him. And then he reveals his bodyguard's name, and his bodyguard is actually Pak, all grown up. Now his, number one dude, his second in command, so... And then everybody's like, oh, we're very honored to meet you, Pak, because they've heard the story, so... I thought that was a very good and a fun twist for the ending. Riker and Dax finally get their meal together. And then the book actually finishes up with a few pages that tell about how the CD-ROM actually came about, which I thought was pretty interesting. It kind of goes into the whole process of, from writing to filming it. And oh yeah, this was cool too. The CD-ROM was directed by Jonathan Frakes, and at the end of the novel, Commander Riker suggests that they turn Gowron's story into a holodeck training program. So it's kind of like a play on the fact that he was the director of the CD-ROM, and then he was the one that came up with the idea to create the scenario, which is, in essence, the CD-ROM itself. So that was fun. And just, again, a lot of little things and a nice little Klingon snack of a book to have. That's really what it is. And, I had said before that I had kind of finished up my whole row over here. And, man, I was way off. I have finished up all of the numbered novels that are over here. However, there were unnumbered novels and novelizations that I still have to finish before we can call that road done. What does that all mean for us here? It means that the very next novel we'll be reading is another one that I know I read when I was a kid. I don't remember it all now. It's got a hell of a cover. I mean, look at this thing. We're going to be reading The Devil's Heart. So, a Carmen Carter classic here. And looking forward to it. I think I do have a large one, but we are going to stick to reading the small one, just for the ease and convenience. Man, I love being able to put these books in my pocket and just take them with me as I go about my day, you know? So, anyway, that's it for Star Trek Klingon. Again, a fun Klingon book, and if you're a Klingon aficionado, pick it up and read it. And if you're a Gowron fan, you definitely should read it as well. As always, my friends, live long and prosper, and kapla! Glory to the Empire. We'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good night.